Okay, can I hold my phone like that? Okay. I realized if I just took pictures, then you couldn't tell, like, when this was connecting to that, so I'm just going to go through and click them so you can see which one is which, and also if I, like, wrote a really long sentence, then you would be able to see everything. Yeah, this one, you just need to be, like, more specific, and then I tied it in a bit more with some editing. This is just me, like, suggesting a better way to word your thesis right here, because it just feels like, because you had this very nice introduction about how the psychology is very important in advertising and how that affects children, and then you automatically just bust in with, like, the school system. So I think it's more effective and smooth if you start out with, like, how, like, the negative effects and how to negate them, and how school education can provide that resource. That one's a little more self-explanatory. I hope I'm not moving the camera too much to the point where you can't see what I'm trying to do. This was just a word suggestion. There was another word for popularity I was thinking of. I couldn't think of it, but this is not needed. That's just me being me. And for this one, I don't know, the past tense just sounded better to me. It's not necessary either. I did leave just a few comments about how I found your paper interesting, and I really liked it. This one, you have unnecessary repetition. It says one example states, and then it says classic examples of this technique. So something I would maybe suggest is just completely take out the classic examples, and then just put, like, an ellipses, this technique, and then for the include part, you would just do bracket S bracket, so it's still grammatically correct, but you're still keeping the what the original person said. This is probably better. This way I can like talk a bit more about what I'm trying to say. I was just talking about the comma here and how you should approach that, and then I left a few comments stating that since I'm not taking an English class this year, some of my grammar might be a little bit rusty, so if you feel like I'm not completely correct, of course, go Google it, ask somebody else. I'm not God. If I was God, I would be greatly concerned for Earth. Oh, I noticed for a few of your sentences, like 2 or 3, it was grammatically correct, but the way it was worded made me have to read it at a slower pace in order to fully grasp and dissect what the sentence was trying to say. So there's nothing wrong with it, and I've seen sentences like this in professional literature. It's just something that I noted if you want to make the reading easier. I commented on this sexy ass Oxford comma because, oh boy, did Miss Lusher just start a cold about that boy. This right here is about how lists should be flowing. Since you have hungry, sad, and then happier, it doesn't flow correctly, so it should either be hungrier, sadder, and happier, or hungry, sad, and happy. There's a certain flow. They have to follow each other, be in the same type of like form in order for this to be 100% grammatically correct. I learned that last year. This was just me judging old people, so you can ignore that. I was just specifying that you should bring up the young people here because you're talking about the color blue, I think it was? More reds. You were talking about reds and how it makes younger generations more hungry, so I said for when you're talking about the food here, you should reinforce that it's the younger people. It helps keep with your thesis, as well as it doesn't misconstrue what you're talking about up here, because when I first read that, I was like, are you talking about the older people? Because you're talking about the older generation last. So just some specification. I just clicked on that one. That's another one. I'm not entirely sure if that one's correct either. It was just me asking for specification because the way it was worded, it was just grays used in their final product rather than like grays used in the background, which you were talking about background, so I assumed, but that was just my brain doing like a cartwheel because it decided that it needed some exercise, but the exercise really just drained all my ATP, and now I'm just a sad spaghetti noodle laying on the couch, rotting in the bright sunlight. Not that it's bright in this room. I have the lights off because I am nocturnal. Yes, this part where you kind of negate what you're trying to say here by saying like it is a small sample size, which can partially harm. There are people talking outside, I don't know if you can hear them. It can partially harm what you're trying to say here by you're effectively saying, hey, this is evidence that I'm using in my paper, but it's not 100% reliable. So you do bring it back by connecting it to other data that you have presented, which is good because it still keeps the legitimacy of it, but I would be aware of that for future things. I've done it too a few times. Like, you feel like you want to say it, but sometimes it's just better to leave it out. They don't have to know that. For magical, considering you use quotes around cool, magical should also have that, and they should both be double quoted instead of single quoted, unless there's like some grammar rule that I don't know about and you did that for a certain reason, like you're quoting something or like you're trying not to mix it up with other I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be double quotes around both, with the way that you have it worded and formatted. This is also another sentence that confused me and can be edited, but it, again, not necessary because it's not necessary for you to edit it because it is grammatically correct. Beige health. That's all that says. I just found this part of your essay really interesting with the psychology that it played with the paternal and maternal instincts of children. I just thought that was really interesting, and I liked that. This is me talking about how as soon as you brought in gender, I was like, there's gonna be some spicy hot takes. And it did indeed get spicy. Oh boy. We love gendering things that don't need to be gendered. This word just gave me serotonin. That's all that comment says. This was me suggesting to bring these two sentences together because there's the highest picks of color. I don't know, it feels like it could just be brought into the same one and be more concise. Of course, that's just my opinion. Highest picks of color. Yeah, that's grammatically correct, so you don't have to do that. Here I suggested that if you had the time or word count space, because this is 4 pages. I don't know if you have a limit or how short or long it can be, but I said it could be really interesting if you brought how like gendering of things in society can add to stressful and harmful ideals for children to follow, especially those who maybe identify with something that's not traditionally feminine or masculine. And since you're talking about the health of children, that could be very beneficial to your paper. But again, that depends on how much time and word count space that you have. Oh yeah, this one? Long sentence because I basically had to quote you here. But for this sentence, you missed this comma here because you have two complex sentences put together. If done correctly, which is dependent, advertising should be effective, concise, and persuasive, which is independent. And then you add in a second complex sentence with, but if it is using manipulative tricks such as using unknown color biases and cartoon designs, which is dependent, so you need a comma after designs, there should be changes, which is independent. It's a very long sentence, so like I didn't pick it up at first, like I had to reread that. But just make sure you get that comma in there because it's an independent connecting to a dependent connecting to an independent. I hope I didn't mix any of that up when I was explaining it. That's just the wrong it's. You forgot your Oxford comma and I was sad. Miss Lusher would shoot a dog. I don't know. That was mean. That was really mean. Why would I do that to a poor puppy? That's just a misspelling of judgment. I wouldn't have picked it up unless Google showed me because I can't spell. And then this was just my final thoughts on your paper. Except for this. There's this weird space. What the hell? Why is it white? There's just, I don't know what that is, but it's in your paper, and I caught it when I was just quickly scrolling through your works cited. I didn't read it, because I was like, fuck that, I'm lazy, and I'm pretty sure you know how to do a works cited page, because you a smart boy. But, I don't know, live. Okay, but moving on. I guess I could just read this word for word. Very good paper. I thought it was very insightful about the issue. Perhaps something I would consider for next time would be a study about how educating children about the effects of advertising affects their willingness to consume certain products. With the methods explained in this essay, it would help support the part of your thesis focusing on the solution to the issue. You focused a lot on the issue rather than like the solution, which I don't know exactly what the prompt was for this, so if what I'm saying is unnecessary, then it's fine, and also time constraints, because the essay's fine by itself. Where did I leave off? The thesis was very exact, and all your evidence supported it well. I would perhaps recommending tying the studies back to your solution a bit more to make it a bit more cohesive. Throughout the essay, you explained how it affected the psychology of children, but sometimes you didn't go back and reiterate how applying like educational parts, like applying this to education would affect them and how it could better them. So tying that back in could make it a bit more cohesive. But overall, very few grammar and mechanical mistakes and a very good essay. I miss you and I hope you're doing well in college. I didn't start crying when I typed that previous sentence. What are you talking about? But yeah, that's all. It's a very good essay and I miss you and I hope you're doing well in Mercyhurst. And whenever I think about you, I just think about you saying big chair and then panning your phone over to show a giant chair, and it brings me joy. Good night. This is not nighttime. Why did I say good night? It's fine. Okay, goodbye.